guess what? We're not dead. I mean, like, physically not dead. Mentally, very much so. But hey, guess what? We're back for, I guess it's now our annual South Park Podcasa Bonita with your host, Shirley. That's me.
And your other host, Rachel.
Took you fucking long enough.
Yeah, it has been a year.
As it took us a year to finally get back and record this. Life's been kind of crazy. We're both full-time students who work on the side, so it's been kind of difficult to sit down and record things, but now that we actually have some fodder for it with South Park Season 22, we're sitting our lazy asses down and recording this podcast. We really miss talking to you guys, and we have a lot of questions that we'll answer afterwards. We're back, we promise. Just maybe not as regularly as years prior.
Yes, we are officially back, and we are glad to be back. And do you want to just dive right in, Shirley, to Season 22?
We're going to just dive right in. Take two, yes, because both of our connections clashed. I want to blame the polar vortex, and not the fact that I have very, very bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
so,
let's go with that.
Guess what? We're going to dive right in to Episode 1, Dead Kids. I can relate.
That aired September 26, 2018, which is when I actually watched it.
Rachel's bitter because I had to binge watch the entire season.
Like 2 days ago.
Because it took me like 2 months to finally watch it. Because, yeah, like I said, a bitch has been busy. So, hey, at least I watched it and I'm not making up shit as I go along. Well, not with the episode review. Everything else, yes, we're making shit up as we go along. But what I'm not making shit up about is this episode description, which I'm going to read right now. Nailed it. Nailed that segue. Okay. When school shootings occur at South Park Elementary, everyone is nonchalant about it except Sharon. Cartman fails a math test because he copied answers from Token and believes Token deliberately sabotaged him because he did not like Black Panther.
Can we talk about the fact that the Black Panther thing never came up again?
I was surprised.
I was so expecting it to.
I thought this was going to be kind of like a Ghostbusters joke that was going to be so overdone and so annoying. But you know what? It was perfect. It was hilarious for this episode. And no joke, that's probably what I found the most funny about this episode was Cartman's, like, he was just so hell-bent that Token was angry at him from a movie that he had never seen, and I kind of love that because, you know, Black Panther was kind of like the staple of last year. It's like, yes, that's Black Pride and only that. If you saw Black Panther, guess what? You're an ally. Good for you.
Right.
It's like, I feel like a lot of white people went to see it just so they could pat themselves on the back and be like, look at me. Look at me being a good majority and supporting those little minorities. Look at me. So I thought that was kind of funny. Of course I saw Black Panther.
Of course I did too.
I get the chat for that too.
Yeah, I'm a liberal. Of course I saw it.
I voted for Stacey Abrams. Of course I saw Black Panther, okay?
I feel like this episode is making fun of you and me specifically.
I know. I feel like this whole season was just ripping on me because you'll likely see in the thumbnail, Rachel and I are PC babies.
Yeah.
I love the PC babies, and I know they're so meant to, like, rip on my generation, like millennials and even, like, Gen Z. Probably more, like, specifically Gen Z, but I still fucking love the PC babies. I think they're so funny, but we'll talk more about them. Let's get back to talking about dead kids.
Yeah.
The episode, also the fact that there are dead kids.
Yeah. I enjoyed the school shooting plot far more than the Cartman one. Just because I liked the message, I liked the whole joke where Sharon's the only, like, sane person in the whole town, because I kind of relate to her. But I think my favorite scene of the entire episode was, like, really early on, where the Marshes are all sitting around the dinner table, and Stan tells his dad, he goes, some kid shot up the school, and then Randy's like, was it you?
Did you get shot? No. Well,
He's
okay,
like, oh, alright.
this math test.
Yeah, why do I care then?
No, I think, you know, I was kind of like, I feel kind of the same way about this episode that I felt with white people renovating houses from last season. Because, like, my complaints from that episode, overall, I was fine with it. I liked this one, Dead Kids, a little bit more than White People Renovating Houses, but I felt like both the issues in these two episodes is that they just didn't go quite far enough. I feel like they didn't exaggerate or rip on it just enough, so it was just kind of tame and almost felt like bland and out of place. You know, I felt like they could have stepped a little bit farther and gone, if they were going to, like, what I really liked was, like, in the episodes they'd have screams and gunshots and, like, you were almost used to it by the end of the season. I like how they carried that on because I felt like Sharon at the end. You know, I thought that was kind of nice and introspective and everything. But in this first episode, I feel like they could have pushed it a little bit more, made it a little bit more of an issue. I felt a lot like Sharon. I feel like that's part of the point. I feel like you're supposed to feel like Sharon in this episode, because I know I certainly did, where I'm like, why is everybody so nonchalant about it? And I find that in real life. It's like, oh, yeah, one of my coworkers' kids just had, like, a school shooting drill. Like, that's fucking normal now.
Right.
So I definitely relate to Sharon, and you know, it kind of opened my eyes a little bit in this episode where I'm like, that's gonna be my reality. Like, if I have kids, like, my kids are gonna have this sort of reality that Stan, Kyle, and Cartman and all the kids are living in now. So that's what I did like about this episode.
Yeah, I did enjoy the commentary about how school shootings, like you said, they're so common that no one's fazed by them anymore except for Sharon. But yeah, I agree that it kind of felt like a bland episode, especially because I felt like there wasn't a really good conclusion to it. There wasn't any really resolution, and there was no call to action. It was just Sharon's like, she gives up, and then Randy was just being a sexist douche the whole episode, and then, and that was it. I was like, okay.
I did find the period stuff funny. I will say that. The period stuff, the part where the psychiatrist, like, red handkerchief, vagina. That, to me, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the charades part was funny, but, like, overall, the whole joke, I was like, wow, I thought I hated Randy before, but now.
Yeah, I think, like, White People Renovating Houses, again, I'm going to compare those two, they really kind of lacked a message there, like a clear message that I think the episode kind of needed. It was just kind of in the air, so you were like, okay, what was the point of it? Like, if you're going to be satirical about it, you know, it kind of has to have, like, I guess, a reason. Don't think it was nearly as bad as, or even though White People Renovating Houses wasn't bad, in my opinion, both of them could have done more with the subject material, I think. I think they could have been a little bit more, I think they could have been bolder, like, you know, really make a statement about it. Overall, it felt a little bit bland.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
You want to move on?
Yes, I don't have much else to say about that one.
Same here. I've got more to say about A Boy and a Priest.
It aired October 3rd, 2018.
When Father Maxie struggles to deliver his sermon amid constant jokes, Butters attempts to console Maxie, but the rest of the town takes their new friendship the wrong way.
I will say that I was looking forward to this episode simply because I had to find out if Stan was okay after he got shot. I was like, for a full week, I was like really worried.
My poor baby, like, he's okay, but he's got a little sling for like 3 episodes afterwards.
I know.
But I actually was really, really surprised with this episode. It felt like an older episode to me. It felt like an episode that would have aired in like season 10 or 11. So I really, really enjoyed it. I really had a lot of love for it because I really enjoy Butters when he's like the highlight. He felt like Butters again. You know, because the past couple of seasons, Butters has been very like manipulative, not really. He isn't the naive and often clueless character he usually is in the Butters that we know and love. And so I felt like we got old school Butters in this episode.
Yeah, I totally agree that this felt more like an old school episode right from the get-go. Like the beginning scene where everyone's excited to go to church, and then all the adults are like cracking pedophile jokes, and then Stan and Butters are the only ones that are kind of sitting there like, what are they doing? Like, it reminded me of old school South Park where all the adults are assholes and they're dumb, and the kids are like, really? It really did feel like such a callback.
But I actually do relate with the adults because I was laughing my ass off at all the jokes, like the little quips that they would make. Mm-hmm. They were so funny, and what I found really interesting is like, I mean, I could be wrong, I could have just missed it, but I don't think any specific event really triggered this episode. I don't think any. I mean, Catholic scandals have been happening for like years and years and years. I don't think they've been like super prevalent in media coverage lately. So I'm like, that's kind of funny. This wasn't directly after some sort of weird event. I could be wrong. Maybe I just missed something, or there was like some other obscure event that happened. But I really enjoyed this episode because I liked, they kind of done this thing before, but they did put a new twist on it. Mm-hmm. With Butters and Maxie's relationship. I thought that was, I genuinely adored Butters in this episode. Like, yeah. I really, he felt just so genuinely Butters. It was himself again, and it made me so happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was so cute. He was kind of just bringing Father Maxie along everywhere, and like really naive to what everyone else is thinking of their friendship. And it was really cute. So I love the scene where Butters brought Father Maxie to Stan's house for board game night, because I was like, that just screamed Trey to me. I was like, Stan and Trey are both board game nerds.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love the idea of Father Maxie being a kid that nobody, like, you have to bring that friend, because I feel like that's so universal. That's what this episode is. So that's another way I feel. I'm like, wow, this is kind of like a throwback episode. Look at them talking about Catholic experiences together. Mm-hmm.
I also, again, going back to board game night, I loved how the joke was that, like, Butters is bringing Father Maxie along, like, uninvited. But then they leave, and then Cartman or someone was like, who the fuck invited Butters to this? Like, no, Butters is the one who's uninvited.
And Butters is so confident now. I was an unpopular kid, and now I'm friend buddy. Everybody likes me. I'm like, yes, they do, Butters. Yes, they do. I'm so protective of him. I really enjoyed this one because cover-up was super funny, like really well planned out, really well written. Tom Boney was magnificent, and I was rolling on the floor. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I like this episode a lot better than the last one, especially the ending, because watching Father Max kill a bunch of pedophiles, the Comboni was great.
So what I enjoyed about the more subtle message was the idea of, like, organizations, specifically like the Catholic Church in this instance, instead of fixing the problem, you constantly want to cover up the issue, and you can kind of apply that to other issues, police brutality, even like Amazon, the Amazon plot line later, you can apply that to. So I thought, it felt like a hardcore, like a South Park Lovers episode, very throwbacky, and I really enjoyed it. It's pretty much one of my favorites this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It was a good one. You want to move on to the next episode?
Yes, let's move on to The Problem with A Poo.
It aired October 10th, 2018.
After posting offensive tweets, Mr. Hankey is fired from directing the annual holiday pageant and enlists Kyle's help to regain his reputation. Strong Woman gives birth to quintuplets following her relationship with the PC principal.
The PC Babies!
PC Babies! I love the PC Babies. I was so excited to talk about it. The funny thing is, when you first see, like, the adverts, like, the little clips of the PC Babies before the episode airs, you're just like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be so negative, and so, like, just really heavy, just negative on PC culture and everything, but it was kind of, like, sweet. It was like, who's the future? Who's the future?
Yeah.
That was so funny. Like, I love how they, like, call out PC culture in the way that there's a lot of, like, I would say, like, PC culture in general. Instead of, like, just basic justice, PC culture goes, like, farther where you enjoy trying to call somebody out for like a holier than thou kind of reward instead of actually wanting to fix a problem, you know? Which I think is really funny. I think that's what they're going for with the PC babies, and I really enjoy them. I think they're so funny and so adorable.
Yeah, part of the reason why I loved them is because I recognize that they're making fun of me and my generation, but they, like, do it in such an accurate way that I can't even get mad at it. Like, specifically the line...
No, I can't get mad at it.
Yeah, specifically the line where I think just some South Park citizen goes, like, sometimes PC babies don't even know what they're crying about. Like, I thought that was really great.
Yes, exactly. I thought that was actually really funny, because I'm like, you know, if you can't laugh at yourself, who the fuck are you gonna laugh at? So I thought they were handled really nicely without being just like edgy, you know, like fuck PC culture. Like the PC babies were a really great way to tackle the issues of PC culture without being like, oh yeah, we're major edgelords. Let's just throw in something racist just to trigger the libtard.
Yeah.
You know, but I enjoyed them, but moving on to Mr. Hanky, I enjoyed this episode. Not my favorite, but I did still enjoy seeing Mr. Hanky again. It was kind of funny hearing him talk about Ambien.
Yeah.
Repeatedly saying, well, I couldn't sleep, so I took an Ambien. I thought his character was super funny the entire episode.
Yeah, I liked Mr. Hanky, but I more liked this episode because it was the closest we can get to, like, a Kyle episode these days. I really liked...
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's just Kyle trying to fix people's problems. That's his role.
And I love when he's trying to convince the other boys to help him defend Mr. Hanky. And he's like, how many times has Mr. Hanky been there for us? And Stan's like once, kind of? I don't know.
I do love that. I love that. I also like the commentary that it gives, like, people with problematic history. Is like, and the idea is, like, you're going to end up with shit all over your face. Like, quite literally in this instance. But, you know... It is kind of funny. It's like, if you constantly defend somebody who does not change their behavior, you're the asshole. It's like, sometimes you just have to drop.
Yeah, that was
people.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't defend behavior.
Yeah, that was a really good lesson for Kyle to learn, especially because that Roseanne Barr thing just happened when this came out. Basically, like you said, it's saying that if you defend someone, like a shitty person, or even just, like, continue to associate with them after the fact, it's showing that
it's on you.
It shows that you support their bad behavior.
It is on, it's like, they're gonna keep being shitty, and if you're defending that shitty behavior, you're shitty, you know?
Yeah.
Quite literally with Mr. Hanky, but, you know, I really enjoyed hearing this message, you know, because, you know, usually Matt and Trey kind of, like, skew away from, like, problematic behavior kind of like this, where I don't even know how to quite put it, you know. I feel like they'll defend a lot of actions while making fun of it, you know. But this time I feel like they really put a foot. It's like, no, you can't support that, really, like the tweets that Mr. Hanky would put out, like the severely racist one, you know, they're like, usually, you know, Matt and Trey are all for, like, free speech. You can see that with all of their content, but, you know, at a certain point, it's not even a joke anymore. You're just racist, or you're just problematic. Like, and that's not worth supporting. That's not really free speech. It's just, like, hate speech, you know?
Yeah. And
I liked hearing that from them.
Can we talk about the fact that Mr. Hanky gets exiled to the Simpsons land?
Yes, and part of me doesn't really understand it, because the Simpsons have been so bland and tame these past few years. Like, past few decades, honestly. Like, I don't feel like, most people don't feel like the Simpsons have been good for years now. They they're kind of a zombie. They just exist at this point. Not that I don't have mad respect for the show at all. I do love the Simpsons, just their later content, or their earlier content. But I kind of am confused. I'm like, why is Mr. Hanky there? Is it just because South Park, or the Simpsons are shitty now, or... like, are the Sims racist somehow? I didn't quite get that, but I thought it was funny.
Well,
you know?
I know that the title of this episode, The Problem with A Poo, is kind of a parody of The Problem with A Poo, that documentary about the Indian Simpsons character. So I think that's what Matt and Trey were kind of doing.
I just got that. Holy shit, I'm an idiot.
Shirley, what would you do without me?
I followed that controversy God, I feel like an idiot. Oh my God. From your host, your actual fucking host who didn't do her goddamn research. Oh my God.
Shirley, did you even watch these episodes? Jesus.
Oh man. Yeah, I actually watched like a lot of, I watched part of the documentary about the problem with A Poo. I watched some like research about it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just now getting that. God, it took me actually having to say it out loud and for you to point it to me. Okay, that makes more sense. Wow. Wow, I'm really fucking dumb. That was funny.
What would this podcast be without me, Shirley?
It wouldn't exist, Rachel. Like, for real. It would not exist. Do you think I could do this shit on my own? No. I can't even do it with you properly.
Alright, do you want to move on to Tegridy Farms?
We're going to move on, so I don't feel like even more of an idiot. Let's move on to Tegridy Farms.
Aired October 17th, 2018.
Vaping craze hits South Park. Cartman and Butters sell vapes to others in school while Kyle is strongly against it. Annoyed with all of the recent issues, Randy resolves to move the family to a farm, but a vape salesman follows him and attempts to steal his product.
This is the episode where Ike starts vaping, right? And that's why Kyle's mad?
Yes.
Okay.
Ike starts vaping.
That's what I thought.
But even before that, the beauty of Shelley showing her quote-unquote butthole.
Oh, yeah.
Sending a picture of her butthole, which is actually a dog's butthole, to a kid selling vape pens. That was fucking funny. Immediately. I don't know why. I was just laughing at the word butthole, but here I am.
It's just so funny. It's like, why would she do that? Like, to what end? It doesn't make sense.
Everybody's into buttholes now.
Yeah, I guess
Goodbye, days of boobs and vaginas and wieners. It's the butthole's time to shine. Where the sun don't shine. Ha! Ha! Okay, we need to talk about this episode. I'm really losing it. You can tell we haven't done this in a year.
Yeah. Okay, so it was nice to see Towley again. Of course, he was the weed inspector.
Hey, what?
Yeah. Finally a job that he's qualified for.
Exactly. I really enjoy seeing Tally. Tally's always used correctly, in my opinion. Well, okay, million little five. Never mind. I take my statement back. That was not good use of Tally.
Well, I don't know. I feel like that episode would have been bad regardless of what character they had in it, you know?
Very, very, very true. But in every other instance, I've always enjoyed Tally. Yeah. I've enjoyed him in the games. I've enjoyed him in his first episode, later episodes, and in this episode. I thought he fit perfectly. And my favorite thing about this episode is Matt and Trey basically took the words from my mouth and put it into this episode. I hate fucking vaping. Oh my God. I'm sorry if any of our listeners vape, but you're a pussy shit. It's not even... Okay, take that back. It's not even about being a pussy. I just think they're stupid. Like, I think vapes just look stupid. And my biggest problem they actually voice in this episode is that they appeal to children. Mm-hmm. Like, they market them, like, not even directly, but in subtext and everything, they market them to a younger demographic. Because I'll be at work. I've seen it. I'll be at work, and I'll be at the register checking out, like, a 14-year-old, and they set their fucking Juul on my counter, and I'm like, what the fuck? You're 14! How did you get this? Like, right. I've had to tell, like, 12-year-olds that they can't vape in our store. It's kind of sad, so right. I really like that they tackled it, because it bothers me. I'm actually angry about vaping.
Mm-hmm. And I liked Kyle's very justified outrage over Ike and the kindergartners starting to vape, because as much as the company pretends like it's not marketing to children, it is, because like all the flavors are like fruit and candy flavors or whatever. And then I also liked how the commentary that it's really this, like, today's landscape is kind of rough for everybody, even the kindergartners. And even the kindergartners are stressed out.
It's like, they're kind of not wrong. That's true.
Yeah.
That is how they market a lot of things. It's like, and with Ike, it's like, I can relax.
Yeah.
That's what nap time is for, bitch. Like,
mm-hmm.
But no, I love their commentary on vaping in general. So, I mean, I have problems with, like, tobacco. I live in an area where just the use of tobacco, whether it be, like, chewing tobacco or vaping or cigarettes, a lot of people use them. So they're just annoying in general for me. It hit, like, a little key in my heart with this episode. definitely pulled some of my strings, so I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Randy's, I actually really enjoyed Randy. Look at me saying that for the first time in a long time. I enjoyed Randy's comments about vaping, and his line with Towley and everything during the big fight at the end. That was really funny to me. So I felt like this was a good use of both Towley and Randy.
Yeah, I love that they teamed up.
But yeah, honestly, I don't have much else to say about it. I thought it was funny. It kind of had an Asperger's feel, just a little bit with Randy and Sharon and them moving away.
Yeah.
It's funny now. Stan isn't even fazed by it, where he's like, I just want to go fucking home.
Right. I love the scene.
Was this the episode where they put on that beanie and it would start playing the grunge music?
I think so.
Oh, that was funny.
I love specifically the part where they just moved there or something, and then Randy's going on about how, the simple country life will, help us out, and then Stan just goes, I hate you so much, and Randy's like, we're having a breakthrough. He's such a fucking idiot.
I love this. I love Stan in this episode. We don't get to see him a lot, but, that's kind of every fucking season now.
Right.
We don't get to see Stan a lot, but when he's used in this episode, he's so funny. His bitterness is just the best. That really balances out Randy if they're used together.
Yeah.
When Stan is bitter and Randy is oblivious, that's how it works.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've always liked Randy the best when he's just as a foil for Stan to do stuff and be annoyed. Instead of just on his own.
The Bloody Mary episode where Randy is acting like he's diseased because he's an alcoholic and everything.
Yeah.
But Stan gets through to him that way. That's the best dynamic. And I see a little bit of that in this episode. Not a whole lot. It's not a focal point, but you do get to see it. So that's what I like.
And that's why the Pinewood Derby episode is still my favorite Randy episode, because it's just Randy being kind of Randy, but it's for Stan's story.
Yes. Oh, see, when they're together, that's usually when I see Randy at his best, when he's annoying.
Yeah. When
he's played as the annoying father, the stereotypical Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin. When he's a foil for Stan, that's when it works,
Mm-hmm.
It's not overdone when it's with Stan, I find.
Yeah, I agree.
You ready to move on?
I am. I'm ready to move on to my favorite episode of the season.
All right, and that is The Scoots.
That aired on Halloween of this year. Or last year. October 31st, 2018. Oops.
I know, I keep forgetting it's 2019. Or maybe it's 2025 when you're listening to this in the future.
Yeah.
But, anyway, the episode is when e-scooters appear all over town. The boys want to use them to their advantage to get as much candy on Halloween as possible. But the town goes into panic upon realizing how much candy they will need.
So obviously I love this episode because it is the rare Kenny episode.
The extremely rare Kenny episode. Goodness gracious. And it was really nice. I think they could have actually had more Kenny, if I'm being completely honest.
They can always have more Kenny.
You can always, exactly, I was just about to say, you can always have more Kenny. So wonderful. But, no, I really enjoyed this episode. Again, not my favorite, but it's still pretty high up there. It's one of the better episodes for a while, especially if you consider Halloween episodes, which I don't think we've had since it's been a while. Well, no, wait, we had the Witches one last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was last year.
This one's easily better.
Yeah. Honestly, all the notes I took for this are just really good Kenny quotes or Kenny moments, or I barely have anything about the story. It's just Kenny.
I know, the only question I have, I'm like I said, I live in a relatively rural area. Are e-scooters actually a thing? Are those real?
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of in the suburbs, so I'm not in the city where this would be, but I have, apparently, according to the internet, it's a real thing.
I've seen bikes like that, but I've never seen scooters like that. So that's really cool. I'm just hit backwoods redneck over here, I guess. But yeah, I was like, wow, that's so cool what they invented. And then I'm like, oh wow, e-scooters are actually a thing.
Right. So there was this episode kind of had a different structure where there was this older narrator along the whole episode, and then it's revealed at the end to be Kenny, which I really loved. Because I thought that we were going to get more of an inside scoop on adult Kenny. I mean, that never ended up happening, but it's kind of cool to imagine. Like, specifically the line where he's like, this was the last Halloween this was the last time it was good. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what are you foreshadowing towards, man, Trey?
Also, maybe that's like a hint at cancel South Park, which I think we should talk about at the end.
Yes.
In general, because Rachel and I have had personal discussions like outside of the podcast about canceling South Park, but we will get to that in the end, I guarantee. But no, I thought that was pretty funny. I loved Mr. Mackey in this episode. Like, that was really his, like, how the Grinch Stole Christmas parody thing where he just dumps all of the e-scooters off the cliff.
Yeah.
That was nice getting to see Mackey highlighted like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course I loved Kenny, but I also loved seeing the other boys, being very, obsessed with trick-or-treating, because it kind of brought them back to being little kids that we forget sometimes. And I like that the trick-or-treating became more of a competition than about getting candy. There's this whole line where Cartman's like, we have to get more candy than everyone else, even if we die.
I love the part where they're getting so much candy that their bags are too full, so Kyle, Cartman, and Stan are all, like, eating and stuffing it in their face to the point where Stan vomits. Like, that's such a running gag. It's just Stan vomiting. Mm-hmm. His poor little stomach.
I know.
Such a squeamish little boy.
And I cannot get past this episode without mentioning the sweet moment between Mr. Mackey and Kenny in his truck, where he says Kenny's a good kid, and he goes, I know we all kind of forget about you sometimes, blah, blah. But I was like, that was really sweet.
I'm like, I feel like that was Matt and Trey speaking to Kenny.
Yeah.
For a little bit.
Like, sorry, man.
The fact that I feel like Matt and Trey kind of call themselves out a lot in this season, because they'll mention, like, things, especially in the last episode with the bike parade, it's like old times, you know?
Right.
They use Kenny again. They mention Kenny not really being used much. So I think that's kind of funny, and I like the, also them going back to their roots with an episode like A Boy and a Priest. I think that's kind of a central theme in this episode that's a little bit more subtle. Like, you won't really notice it unless you are obsessed like us or look for it. But yeah, I really don't have too much to say about this episode other than the fact that I thought it was really cute.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see Kenny again. Honestly, I'm such a slut for Kenny episodes.
Yes, because they're very hard to come by.
They're very, very hard to come by. They're rarer and rarer. He used to be like, and the thing, what's so funny is that he's still like the most marketable character.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, if you see merchandise of South Park, Kenny's always there. Even like recent like merchandise or commercials, it's always Kenny, and it's like, wow, I wish that were accurate.
Right, like
I wish that were honest.
Yeah, because Matt and Trey are like so into Cartman, but I'm like, no, Kenny's like the staple boy of the show, right?
He really is. Like, he's the original running joke, And so that's why it's really good to see him showcased again. This isn't even my favorite Kenny episode, like, by far.
Right.
It's been a while since one of my favorite Kenny episodes is from like way, way, way far ago. So I mean, his Mysterion stuff is my favorite. But like, even now, I'm still just satisfied getting a mediocre episode that just happens to have Kenny in it.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah. Enough of us gushing about Kenny. Are you ready to move on?
I am.
We're going to move on to my favorite episodes, these two together, but I think this one I like a little bit more, is Time to Get Cereal.
Aired November 7th, 2018.
Part 1 of 2, a creature is killing citizens of South Park. The boys soon realize who is responsible and turn to an old acquaintance for help, but the police think the boys are the ones responsible and wrongfully arrest them in the end. Pretty mediocre summary of this episode, but not a mediocre episode in my opinion. I love this episode so much. I was really, really happy with it because one of my favorite episodes, if not my favorite, is Man Bear Pig from over a decade ago. I love the Al Gore character, and even though I support the evidence of climate change I have for years, I still find myself laughing my ass off at that episode because it was really a product of the times. But I like enjoy it retrospective. I love this episode even more because of that, because it's one of the it's an actual instance of Matt and Trey being like, yo, we were actually kind of wrong about that thing before when the issue was kind of a little bit more in its infancy. There was less evidence. Matt and Trey could have easily done an episode where they're like, we don't have to worry, like, that's stupid, that was a long time ago, but they actually directly own up to being like, yeah, we were wrong about that, now we're right about that, let's try and fix it, and actually acknowledge that we've changed our minds. And they did that with, like, with episodes like The Sissy, where they made not so sensitive and pretty awful jokes about trans people, but they've shown that they've grown from that, they've changed their opinion with that episode. So I feel like this serves the same purpose as something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really glad that Matt and Trey can kind of own up and are admitting now that climate change is real. But I do agree that the original Man Bear Pig episode, it will always be a classic.
Always.
Carmen's shitting treasure is pure gold, pun intended. That being said, to this episode, I like the title of it, Time to Get Cereal, because it's kind of a call for action, and that sort of ties into the rest of the episode, especially near the end where Al Gore tells the boys, it's up to you young people now, because it really is kind of showing that their generation is kind of passing the torch on our generation.
Which they always do if there's an issue, but,
right.
Not bitter about that at all.
Yeah.
But no, I think it was I really love the message, because usually, to me, it wouldn't seem so much as a message that they would give, where it's like, yeah, the older folks, we just really wanted our nice ice cream and our television, like, and our cars. Like, it's like, we didn't, and I love the line, it's like, we thought we'd be dead by now.
Yeah. It was very honest.
Which is, like, really funny, because, the old people are living longer, and it's also funny yet kind of terrifying that we aren't going to statistically they're kind of predicting that our generation will not live as long, and we will not have the support that the older generation now does. So that's a little bit scary, but I digress. I love this episode because Al Gore is so funny.
Yes.
The character of him, the thing is, they kept him so consistent. It's he's such a funny character to the point where it's like, he's right. Like, he's right in this episode, but he's still that weird little goober. He's still just that weird kid that you just want to pity. And they still made fun of that, but they're not like demonizing him. They're just like, he's just that weird goofy kid who actually happened to be right.
Yeah, I liked Al Gore in these two episodes because he's less concerned about helping the boys with Man Bear Pig and more concerned about getting them to, like, admit that he was right and kind of suck up to him. I think that was really funny. Specifically, I love when he had the boys, like take him out to dinner or somewhere or something. And then he's like, oh, you guys, you shouldn't have. And Carmen's like, you told us to.
Exactly. You wouldn't help us.
Unless we did this for you.
Slip up. Whenever they would, like, slip up and say something mean by accident, be like, no, God damn it, wait, we didn't mean that.
Yeah.
But I love this, and one of my favorite scenes, I can't remember if it's in this one or the next episode. Do you want to just, like, move on to the next one and talk about both of them?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay, so the next one that ties into this first one is Nobody Got Cereal?
Yes, aired November 14th, 2018.
So I love these two. I think these two, I tie them together, so I think of them as one episode. They're my favorite. I love how Grandpa Marsh, he's, like, responsible. I love it when Grandpa Marsh is in anything.
I know.
Whether the game or the episode. He's super funny. I'd rather see him more than Randy at this point.
Yeah, speaking of Randy, we should be calling him by his real name, which is Dried Up Crust and Grand Titties.
Right? Oh, I forgot the other part that I was going to talk about, and I couldn't remember if it's in the first or the second half of the episode, or of the two-parter, but one of my favorite scenes is the kids, like, or the family in the restaurant, and the father has his back to the creature, and he's just like, oh, there's no actual proof that Man Bear Pig is real. It's all just a conspiracy to blah, blah, blah. Like, the same shit that you hear from climate change deniers. And then he turns around, and he's so nonchalant. He's like, okay, so yes, Man Bear Pig is real, but he's already here. So, like, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do? It's kind of funny, because I'm like, that's the exact argument that you hear from climate change deniers.
Right,
it's like,
right.
It's so funny. You know, usually Matt and Trey are a little bit more like, two-sided. You know, they represent both sides. But in this one, they're just like, yo, don't be a fucking idiot. Like,
Right. Okay, I actually want to...
that was one of my favorite scenes.
I need to address something that we didn't talk about yet. Just the fact that the boys were in jail for a little bit because the fucking idiots in South Park police think that they're the ones killing people. And I did love...
Right, because of the school shooting?
Yeah, I did... I don't remember what the guy's freaking name is. I just call him the ginger cop. I love the part where he goes... He's like, what? Outside of school... He's like, outside of school is where kids are supposed to be safe.
Exactly. Oh my, I did love that line, because I'm like, it's so sad and nihilistic, but also very accurate, so I still laugh.
Yeah, and I also like how, like, school shootings has become synonymous with, like, any kind of shooting, because he's like, a school shooting at the mall? What do you mean?
Exactly. Like, you hear about any mass shooting, it's like, oh, who's the white angry teenager who did it?
Right.
No, I think that was funny. To me, again, it, like, much like our conversation, it takes a backseat in this episode. Like, that plot line is nowhere near as funny as just Al Gore.
Yes.
Al Gore and his little cape. Oh, yeah. I love the character. I think it's so funny.
Yeah,
how they portray him, because he's not like super. He's not like a Rob Reiner portrayal where they just like really continuously shit on him. They're like supportive. They take the piss out of him a little bit, but they're also like, we also agree with you and totally have your back. So we're not completely demolishing you in this episode.
Yeah, especially like you said before, how like the scenes were. I think it's mostly in this episode. Like, there's one scene specifically where Kyle is like getting annoyed with him, and he's like, "Well, you were actually not right about everything you predicted or whatever." And then Al Gore like gets mad and like doesn't want to hear it. And then it led to this one part where Kyle's like, no, please, I'll do anything. I just want everyone to be safe. And I'm like, oh my god, I love my child.
Kyle's always the best. He really is the problem solver, and that's another reason why I love him.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really funny. I actually really love the conclusion. I love the Red Dead Redemption jokes. Those were funny. Like, they were repetitive, but they weren't to the point where I was sick of them.
Right.
You know, I thought they were in a good amount of. They were in a good dosage. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
They were just as much as they needed to without being super annoying. Maybe because I love watching my boyfriend play Red Dead Redemption 2, but you know, it wasn't overdone, which I appreciate, because sometimes, especially in recent episodes, they love to overdo a joke, and I'm like, can you take a chill pill?
I love
my dog needs to.
I love the ending to this episode, where Stan is like signing the contract with Man Bear Pig, and he tries to like find out what the town is willing to give up, and it's like Red Dead Redemption and soy sauce, and someone's like, what, you mean we just have to eat rice just by itself? Yeah, I mean, because that was a really funny, like, joke at the end, but it also kind of hits home the message that, like, today's generation, we're just as greedy and short-sighted as the last generation, just only a little bit more self-righteous. Okay, do you want to go on to Buddha Box?
My internet has...
Oh.
Yes, let's go on to Buddha Box for whatever you heard last, because our internet is shit.
Yeah, it's okay.
So yeah, next episode is Buddha Box.
And it aired November 28th, 2018.
Cartman's anxiety leads him to wear a cardboard box over his head and isolate himself, and the trend catches on. PC principal and strong woman continue to deal with their quintuplets.
Oh, the PC babies are back.
So the PC babies are back. God, I love PC babies.
I love how they all have gender neutral names. So this is the episode where they kind of lampoon anxiety, which I have mixed feelings about. I mean, I personally don't suffer with anxiety, so I'm not really like offended. What about you, Shirley?
I suffered with depression, and therefore, like, anxiety is like a symptom of that depression. It's nowhere near as severe as somebody with, like, say, generalized anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a thing that I struggle with a little, but it's kept me from doing certain things. But, you know, it's nowhere near the level of somebody who suffers with it daily, like social anxiety. But it's kind of, I kind of like how they did it a little bit. I feel like this is a better version of Safe.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what they tried to do in Safe Space, I feel like they did it correct, because they were pretty vicious in Space, where they were almost, like, promoting bullying and cyberbullying. They were like, oh, you need to get a thicker skin.
Right.
Like, the one thing I didn't appreciate was them saying, like, we all just get over anxiety. It's like, sometimes if somebody has, like, a clinical diagnosis and they can't get over it, yes, that's an instance. That's, like, my one nitpick on this episode. But in general, I do enjoy, I kind of like how they did Lampoon, because now a lot of people use it, and not just, like, one specific demographic. Like, a lot of people use this, like, oh, well, I have anxiety. It's like, yeah, bitch, like, everybody has anxiety. It's part of your sympathetic nervous system. Like, you're supposed to be anxious about things.
Right.
I like how they portray anxiety as, like, wanting to just be on your phone all the time and not be interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was funny, rather than, like, oh, little snowflake needs a safe space,
right.
Like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like how
they took that approach, a bit less tasteful and annoying and edgy.
Yeah, I liked how they kind of used Carmen as this representation of people who don't really have anxiety, and then it kind of spiraled, because I think that's true in our society, because as mental illnesses like depression and anxiety and other things like that have become more popular and people talk about them more, I feel like people, like I don't know, they pretend to have it, or they don't understand what it really is. So I feel like a lot of people with just everyday anxiety are like, oh, well, I have an anxiety disorder. Like, but no, they really don't. Maybe they just want attention, or they don't understand what it really means.
Yeah, I feel that too. I feel like a lot of people use it as, like, just an excuse. A lot of people use, especially with, like, self-diagnosed. I'm not saying, like, all self-diagnosis is wrong. You could definitely be onto something, but you really, really should try and see a professional to be actually diagnosed. Because if you're self-diagnosing, there's a lot of chance that you're not. One, you may not even have the disorder, or you may have a different disorder and you're not coping properly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're self-diagnosing, you're probably not getting the treatment that a professional can give you.
Yeah.
I get why some people do self-diagnose. I'm just saying a lot of people use it to have an excuse. And the thing is, mental illness, though it's debilitating, I speak from experience, it's not an excuse to be shitty.
Right.
But if I'm depressed and I'm lashing out at somebody, I'm still in the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the other person's fault, but I'm feeling this way, so I see that. It's like, oh, God. Like when Carmen's just like, y'all are triggering my anxiety.
Yeah.
You're an asshole wanting to stay on your phone. So I like how they actually portray anxiety this way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not showing clear signs of anxiety, what it actually was. If they were, to me, that would kind of be like backpedaling,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be as accurate. It'd kind of be like Safe Spacey.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the Safe Space episode done correctly, in my opinion.
Yeah, like, and I love the scene at where Cartman first gets the voodoo box, and then people are like trying to talk to him. They're like, "Hey, Eric," and he's like, "Shut up, I have anxiety." Like, that was just so funny to me, because I'm like, that's like, of course, Cartman thinks that's how anxiety works.
Exactly. Shut up! Don't talk to me. I have anxiety. Also, one of my favorite things about this episode, I love it, is just how wholesome PC Principal and Strong Woman and their quintuplets are at the end.
Yay!
I think it's so fucking adorable. And, like, the way it was, like, everybody else's story and they finally find an outlet to be together, that is so goddamn wholesome.
I know.
And I was smiling the entire time. I'm like,
I know, they got
that huge of a fan of PC Principal.
Right.
And now I love the character. I think he's super funny.
Yeah, I was so happy that they got their kind of happy ending. That was really sweet.
It really was. And, they're not just completely ripping on PC Babies. I think the PC Babies are hilarious. They're, like, the perfect amount of making fun of, but also being a little bit encouraging of PC culture.
Yeah.
Like, ripping on them and pointing out their bad qualities in the nicest way possible. And in the most accurate way, because I see the PC Babies, I'm like, God damn, we really do that, don't we?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even consider myself a complete PC Baby, but I know a lot of their characteristics fit some of my own personal problems.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, I can laugh at that shit.
Mm-hmm.
They're just adorable, and I enjoyed this episode for what it was.
As did I. Do you want to move on to the next one?
Move on to probably like my least favorite episodes of this season, and unfortunately, it's always the conclusion, which is Unfulfilled.
And it aired December 5th, 2018.
Part 1 of 2. An Amazon warehouse opens up in South Park, and after an accident, the employees go on strike. The boys decide to enter a bike parade, but they are upset by the shipping delay.
Yeah, this is kind of an okay episode. Yes.
I agree with that. I think this and the last episode, Bike Parade, are just they're okay. They're not bad. I don't think there was really like a bad episode this season, which is good. It's just it's okay. They had a few laughs in there, but overall, I felt like the message is kind of Amazon's kind of done before in a much better way earlier. You know?
Yeah.
Like the Amazon, and also like the idea of Amazon, like with the Walmart episode, kind of had similar of a message. Big corporations, all that, and the one with I don't even remember the episode title, but the one where they just keep getting all their Amazon packages, and oh my god, where Ike thinks that the UPS man is fucking his mom, but it's really just Gerald. What the fuck?
Insecurity, isn't that what it's called?
Insecurity. That's the one. That one. I feel like they kind of covered this just better, you know?
Yeah. I really liked the hypocrisy that was kind of presented in this episode, where the boys really, like, talk about the old times, and they say we want to go back to how the things used to be, but at the same time, they're all upset because they can't order stuff on Amazon, which they never could do before. So it's like they claim
exactly.
They claim that they have nostalgia, but they don't want to give up the stuff that they have now for the past.
Yeah, and I feel like that's really similar of people like nowadays, like even people my age, you know. It's like, I miss when people would go outside, and it's like, bitch, you can still go outside. It's still there. You just want to stay on your phone.
Right.
Like, everybody's guilty of it. Like, times evolve, and you just get used to things. Like, you have to change with the time. Stop acting like you're not a part of it, you know?
Right. I think one of the best scenes of this whole episode, or two-parter or whatever, is when the boys go to the mall, and all the people there are, like, post-apocalyptic fucking weirdo zombies.
Yes. One thing about the Amazon thing that I did like that they tackled was they went pretty hard with the injustices that Amazon employees experience, like especially like in the packing department, how just cruel the conditions
Poor
are,
Josh.
how fucking insanely wealthy Jeff Bezos is, like scary wealthy. Like, I love how they made that like an alien trait more than anything.
Yeah.
It kind of didn't really go anywhere though, so I felt like they could have done more with that alien stuff. It was either that or just not done it at all. It was just kind of weird. You know?
I thought they kind of just were representing him as like a major supervillain or something like that, which I thought was funny, but
I do, like, I think that is super funny. Like, my roommate and I, earlier today, were actually talking about how fucking wealthy he really is, and how it's, like, we're kind of scared of that kind of wealth. Like, we would know what we would be like with that kind of wealth, so I think it is funny how he's portrayed like this super villain. Like, that's a pretty bold stance for them to take, and I really appreciate it, because they're not exactly struggling themselves, you know?
Yeah, I want to mention real quick something I said to you before we started recording, which was that this two-parter had my favorite Kenny death in a while, which was when Jeff Bezos goes,
right.
Yeah, Alexa, kill Kenny.
That was hilarious. See, again, this whole season is kind of like throwing back to like previous jokes, like they're wink wink nudging at us again, which I appreciate, and also it kind of hurts a little bit, because I'm like, well, your episodes still are so different, which different isn't always a bad thing, but we'll talk more about like the progression of, or degression, I guess, of quality in South Park when we talk about the cancel South Park hashtag.
Yeah.
But you know, these two-parters. Which, do you want me to just read the episode summary for the second one?
Yeah, let's just go into that one.
Yeah, so Bike Parade was a second part.
Aired December 12th, 2018.
My dad's birthday. Part 2 of 2, as the Amazon strike continues, Randy finds a way to sell more marijuana, and Kenny's father forces him to be part of the strike, putting a damper on the boys' Bike Parade plans. So, the Bike Parade is probably my favorite aspect of this two-parter. That's probably my favorite plot point for some reason, because I think it's so wholesome and actually funny.
Yeah.
Like, the freaking bully that we see, and then, with the weird raisin girls and everything.
Yeah.
His mother's trying to compete for the attention. I thought that was super funny. Really adorable. And just kind of, like, was so much better than the rest of the plot points. Like, I didn't really care about Randy's side business with the Amazon stuff. I didn't kind of care. I liked Josh's character, the guy in the box.
Yeah.
I thought that was super funny. I loved him talking about, like, Marxism and communism. Like, I thought that was really funny, just hearing Matt's voice coming out of this little box.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't really care about the Randy stuff, and then all the stuff with the Amazon. I'm like, well, we kind of talked about this in the last episode, so I was kind of over it. But I loved the Bike Parade. I really loved the whole part where the 4 main boys are, like, all bummed out because they can't win it, so now they're trying to get it shut down for being offensive. And then Kyle's like, well, what's offensive about a bike parade? And Carmen's like, you small-minded piece of shit. Like,
what's offensive about a bike parade?
Yeah.
That's really funny.
And then, oh my god.
I thought that was really funny.
Yes, and then the part where Cartman's getting, like, pissed, and he's like, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna shoot up the school. And then Stan's like, no, don't shoot up the school. Like, don't do that.
Cartman would be a school shooter. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god. Cartman would be a school shooter, and then more Tumblr girls would have another reason to love him.
I know.
But, that's a subject that I don't think we should ever talk about.
Yeah.
So yeah, these were just 2 okay episodes, which I guess speaks a lot for this season. The fact that these were probably my least favorite episodes in the entire season, which to show that, you know what, this wasn't a terrible season. It's okay. It's totally fine. I guess it's a pretty good sign to say, like, hey, at least it wasn't a bad season. At least they wrapped it up. Like, that's the thing. That's one thing that they haven't been doing for a while, is they concluded it. Like, without any plot holes. Well, not huge ones, I guess. So it's been a while since that has happened, where it didn't feel rushed, you know?
Yeah, totally. I wanted to point out this one line that Cartman has that's really great, where he goes, how come everything out there is getting canceled, but when it comes to us, we just can't do it? I think that's a really good time for us to talk about #cancel South Park.
Definitely. I feel like we may have some disagreeers at this point, and it may sound super hypocritical of us, you know, being huge South Park fans. We love the show. We're critical of it, but in the end, we really, really do love it. We love Matt and Trey. But Rachel and I both agreed that we're actually kind of ready for it to be over. Like, it's a hard thing to say, but we both kind of acknowledge the fact that, like, hey, if they said that this next season is going to be their very last, we could accept that without throwing a fit, you know?
Yes, definitely. Because there has been some rumors that season 23 is going to be the last, and this does sound mean, but I kind of hope it is, because I just don't want South Park to ever get to the point where it's just dragging its feet, and kind of like The Simpsons, and I don't get any joy out of watching it anymore. Because I feel like if this is the last season, Matt and Trey can really put all their energy into it, let it go out with a bang, and then it's just done with.
Yeah, and the thing is, with Matt and Trey, they have so many other outlets of creativity, and the true fans of Matt and Trey and of South Park will follow along with those other outlets as long as they're good, you know? Book of Mormon, their movies, it'd be awesome for them, and more games even. They don't even have to be South Park games. It'd be awesome for them to move on and do something else, you know? And exactly, I think I would hate for South Park to become the new Simpsons.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's already at this point, but you can definitely tell the show hasn't been its legacy for a long time. Mm-hmm. You know, it hasn't quite measured up to how great, to the level that South Park is known for. Yeah. You know, it really hasn't been. It hasn't been there for a while. It hasn't been quite Simpsons level, where it's forgettable and bland, and it's just a ghost of its former self. But it's getting to that point, and I'm kind of ready for it to end, and I'm ready for a good conclusion. Yes. You know, I don't need the show to just end just the way it was. Like, don't give us a Boondocks ending, okay? But I love the Boondocks. Not hating on the Boondocks. One of my favorite shows. But, you know, I would love a known conclusion, not for them to just be like, oh yeah, we're done. Like, I'd love going in knowing that it was going to be the last and just be prepared for that, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So the cancel South Park thing, I'm not upset about it, really. I think it's about time for it to happen. I think South Park really has run its course. It hasn't become this terrible thing where I dread watching it. I still enjoy it, and I will probably cry the day that it really does.
Oh, I will definitely cry when it's over.
Oh yeah, I will. It's a big part of my life, but it's also a part that I think I don't want it to be the show, because I've had a lot of shows, like, just for example, like Criminal Minds. That was one of my favorite shows of all time, and there was a point where I realized, like, it was starting to go downhill. It wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. They weren't the same characters that I had grown to love. The stories were kind of contrived, and I had to stop watching it. Like, to this day, I still haven't seen, like, the last couple of seasons, because I'm like, I don't want to spoil the image of this show that I love. Mm-hmm. So I don't want the same thing to happen with South Park. I'd love to continue watching it, have it end, and me be like, yes, that is still the same South Park that I fell in love with, that I've loved talking about, and dedicated an entire fucking podcast to it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So now that we finished talking about that, I wanted to kind of update you guys on some stuff that's going on. First of which is that Shirley and I are planning to finally record and release our video game podcast this weekend. So if we don't end up doing that, you guys are free to, like, beat us up and make fun of us. Because we've been promising that for a long time, and we never delivered, but we're going to hopefully do it this weekend.
Hopefully, like, we definitely want to get that out of the way, especially since my boyfriend got me a Switch for Christmas, and I have actually played through the South Park Fractured But Whole, and I'm not a big gamer at all. Like, PS4s and Xboxes kind of intimidate me a little bit. I am not a gamer in the slightest. I just have really bad coordination. But I fell in fucking love with this game, and I can understand why Catherine, my sister, is obsessed with these games. Like, I am so in love. I want to get the DLC. I want to get the Stick of Truth. Like, I freaking love these games, you know?
Yes, so now that we're both all prepared for it, be on the lookout for that. There's also this really weird phenomenon where other accounts are stealing our podcasts and uploading them as their own, which is insane to me, because this is small.
Who the fuck would ever want to steal our trash content?
Like a shitty little podcast where we just yell over each other and giggle, and our internet cuts out, like, every episode.
With really bad editing. Yeah. Actually, better editing. But bad thumbnails, and, like, they also use our description. And I'm going to die laughing if another user, because it's been, like, I'm guessing they're bots or something, just to, like, generate some sort of, like, revenue or ad revenue. But, because we have really, really long videos, you can put a lot of ad space in there. Mm-hmm. But, like, they'll use the exact same descriptions, they'll have the same time stamps that we have.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would die laughing if somebody rips this and reposts it.
Yeah.
That's just so fucking meta. That is so yeah, actually, a lot of our subscribers and viewers brought this to our attention, so we really appreciate you guys bringing it up. If you see, as far as I know, we're the only two who do this. Rachel uploads it on her channel. So if you see any other channel that uploads Podcasa Bonita, no, it's not us.
Yeah, make sure you're watching the podcast on my channel, which is just my name, Rachel Brands, and it has Shirley's cute little drawings as the avatar.
Exactly, because they're so lazy. They rip our content completely, but just they don't even have the same thumbnails. So sometimes they're a little bit hard, but they have the same titles exactly, and the same description, same timestamps, and same trash content. Like, I really don't know why you'd steal from us. But if at all, you could we loved flagging. We'd really appreciate it if you flag it or comment. Don't or harass these people. I don't even think they're people. I feel like they're bots. But don't harass. Don't do that. We just want to get these videos taken down because, I mean, they maybe have like 1 or 2 views. But again, we appreciate it for you guys bringing it to our attention. Because damn, I guess we're famous enough now that people want to steal our material.
I know. Look at us. All right,
I have really made it big.
Yeah, I have one last announcement, I guess, which actually you probably already know this by now because it was like a year ago, but I have been trying to upload like the recent South Park commentaries where Matt and Trey talk about the episodes, but they have been marked as copyright and taken down, so unfortunately I won't be able to do it anymore. I don't know, I could possibly maybe, if you guys really wanted, that's something you really want to consume as content, I could record season 22 and email it to you or something, but I'm just here to tell you guys that it won't be on the channel anymore.
Yeah, because copyright.
Which is annoying because, one, my season 20 commentary was up for like a full year, and then like nothing happened to it, and then the day I tried to upload season 21, like it wouldn't let me, and it took down season 20, so I'm like, what the fuck happened?
I know, I love how we're bitching about that right after we complained about
I know.
our content. We're such hypocritical bitches. But, you know, we really appreciate you guys listening. It's been really sweet actually seeing. I wasn't expecting it. You know, Rachel and I just do this for fun. But people have actually been asking about when we post things. So, one, we apologize for that. And two, we also want to thank you for actually being interested, because we never thought people would ever be interested in this at all.
Yes, definitely. Speaking of our fans being interested, we actually have some fan questions from the comment section of our season 21 video, which was literally a year ago. And I kind of feel bad, but do you want to just get into those?
Let's get into those, because we're already here, right?
Yeah. All right, the first one is, what do you think about the recent seasons not featuring Kenny anymore?
I think we talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Just this podcast, I feel like we answered that already.
We should have done this at the beginning.
Like, whoever asked that, you know us so well, because all we do is bitch about how we miss Kenny. Like, we don't see any more Kenny. And how relieving it was and how refreshing it was to see Kenny again.
Yeah, so our answer to that is that we hate it and we want more Kenny.
We want more Kenny.
Yeah. All right, this next question is kind of related to that one. It's, why do you think Matt and Trey don't like Kenny as much as the fans do?
I feel like they've talked about it a lot. They say they relate with Randy. They relate with characters like Randy. And so I guess if they relate, it's just easier to write and project their voice through that character. So I can totally see that. Doesn't make it great writing, let me tell you that. But I feel like that's a major reason why they don't give Kenny as much. Because they even said it, they used to relate more to the boys when they were first starting out. But now as they've gotten older, they're experiencing more like later adult, middle-aged adult problems. They can express those through a character like Randy. So I guess that answers your question, maybe. Yeah,
that kind of explains, like, the more recent seasons, like, Kenny's involvement in them. But I feel like from the get-go, Matt and Trey were always very indifferent to Kenny as a character. Because Stan and Trey were, like, the embodiments of them. And then Cartman was, like, the little shitty asshole kid. And then Kenny was just a prop that they would kill over and over again. And it wasn't until they kind of kept adding in, like, sprinkling in little parts of his personality and his story that people really got invested. And I don't think they were expecting that to happen.
Yeah, I really don't. That's the thing. I feel like they didn't. That's why, it's also like the who's Cartman's dad thing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think anybody would give a fuck. So I feel like it's the same with Kenny. They didn't think anybody would actually give a fuck about Kenny.
Yes. I mean, we do, but...
We totally do. We do. They may not.
Yeah.
But I think that's an answer.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next question, and I can tell that this is piggybacking off of season 20 and 21, and it's, is Butters getting meaner?
Definitely for a while he was. And that's why I loved Boy and the Priest so much, because it's like, wow, it's actually Butters again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do think that this season kind of took Butters back to his original form. Even in Bike Parade, where he was just kind of the underdog, and then he kind of just shit on that other kid with his bike. Like, that was, like, funny Butters, too. But I don't think
That was Butters.
Yeah, I don't think that was necessarily him being mean. Not like he was in, like, season 20.
Yeah, season 20, he was just nasty.
That was just a bad season.
It really was. Oh, God.
Alright, let's not go
there. Even though Wiener's Out was hilarious.
Yeah, okay, let's not go down that rabbit hole, though.
No, we've already done that.
Alright, next one is also kind of piggybacking off season 20. What do you think of Kyle and Heidi as a couple, and what do you predict their relationship will be like in season 22? Well, season 22 just happened, and there was nothing, like, Heidi wasn't in it at all, which I probably could have predicted even before watching it.
Yeah, I feel like it was so easy for them just to drop Heidi, and I didn't even think about her this entire season. So, I mean, I guess that goes to show I didn't really have many thoughts with Kyle and Heidi. Kyle gets tossed around between a lot of girls. He's kind of like, poor guy. He's like the incel of South Park.
Don't you dare call Kyle that.
I know, he's way too nice to be an incel. Now, if Matt and Trey tackled incels, I feel like I would die. I would love that episode.
But yeah, I know that when seasons 20 and 21 were airing, they were really interested in the whole concept of Cartman having a girlfriend and what that would be like. But I knew that once that storyline went away, then Heidi wouldn't be a part of it anymore. I mean, which I'm not mad at. I mean, she was never, like, a major character. But, I mean, I thought she and Kyle were, like, the potential of them being a couple was cute, but I was never that invested in it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I didn't really have any predictions, I guess, with them together. But I kind of don't really mind her not being in this new season, because I'm kind of glad that arc ended.
Yeah. Alright, are you ready for the last question?
Very last question. I feel like we've drabbled on long enough.
Yeah. Alright, this one is definitely comes from, like, the Tumblr type fandom corner of the South Park world. How would you feel if Kenny and Butters became a couple?
That is my sister's OTP. She would lose her mind. And one, you know what? The funny thing is in South Park: The Fractured But Whole, on the character sheets, Kenny is listed as a heterosexual cis male, and immediately I was like, oh, that is so wrong. That is wrong in every way, shape, and form. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, in no way is Kenny cis completely, and in no way is Kenny completely heterosexual. I totally think, like, just by, like, his mannerisms and just personal love for Kenny, I would love to see him as something other than straight. My sister absolutely adores that couple. I was the one who kind of got her into it, because I'm kind of like a casual. When I was younger, I was pretty into the shipping and everything, but I'm a little less so now that I've just gotten older, because I'm older and boring.
Yeah, I'm not so much into the shipping aspect of it. That being said, I mean, Kenny and Butters being together, or even just being a pair of, like, friends, I like that coupling. I think that they're both the few really nice kids in South Park, and so I don't see anything problematic about it. That is to say, I mean, I would be shocked if they were ever canon, just because, I mean, that's not going to happen, but...
Then again, I mean, we never really thought Craig and Tweek would be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of, I claim that I'm not into shipping, but I do love me some Tweek and Craig.
Oh my god, I'm a Creek shipper for life. I don't care how old I get. I'll be in my 80s and still thinking that fucking yaoi drawing is adorable.
I'm still, like, years later, I'm still, like, blown away by the fact that that happened.
Every time I play the game, though, like, that, and we'll talk more about it definitely in that podcast, but I think that'd be really cool. I mean, I'm always down for them, like, paying tribute to, like, that side of their fandom, rather than just, like, the casual viewer.
Right.
So I think if they did that, that'd be super cool. I think the couple is adorable, but even them just in a friendship dynamic is fun too.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I think we have rambled on long enough. Poor Rachel. She has a lot of editing to do because mainly
your internet
Wi-Fi is garbage. So thanks again for hanging out with us, listening to us talk. We're still so blown away by the amount of people who listen to us, and not only listen to us, but want to hear more and who get involved. So definitely ask more questions. Give us some suggestions on what you'd like to hear with the Fractured But Whole podcast. We're not sure if we're going to add that with the Stick of Truth or not. We'll just have to see. But thanks again, man.
Yes, definitely. You will hear from us again soon, as we're going to upload the game review. And let us know what else you'd like us to see. Give us some feedback, because God knows we only upload when you guys give us a kick in the butt. So thanks for that.
Exactly. And feel free to kick our asses some more.
Yeah.
It actually it motivates us. Like, I know that seems so backwards, but it really does. Seeing your comments and everything, and hearing that you guys actually want to hear from us again. Like, I don't even want to hear from me. So the fact that you do is really sweet. We really appreciate it, and at the end of the day, we really do love doing this. So thanks again for listening, and we're gonna sign out.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.